Friends, how are you doing? It's early. Wanted to get on here and talk about the market before it opens up here, but I want to talk a little bit about Applied Digital, talk about quantum computing here. I mean, just these are stocks that I've been talking about all year that been growing with here and watching where they go, and it's been such a roller coaster ride of watching the craziness with these two stocks, 100%. So I hope everyone's doing well. I really do mean that. I want to talk about let's go right in Applied Digital. What's going on here? So this is just crazy when you look at this chart right now. This is just a 6-month chart. Okay. Now Applied Digital has went way past my expectation. I mean, way past my expectation of what the share price is going to be here. My highest share price for this at the last time I really talked about it was I was like, I think this is probably going to easily stay around this $15 to $18 position. And now, I mean, my God, we are just 20. Yeah, that's possible. But I mean, we're way past that at this point. But it's really weird because we had this conversation of where people are saying this is a tech bubble. It's a bubble. Then you have these big tech people come out and say kind of the opposite, and that's why I put Jensen here. I put Jensen on the thumbnail where, it's like Jensen is this huge figure in AI right now. If you don't know, obviously he's the CEO of NVIDIA, but NVIDIA has so much money now, they are looking where to apply new places of revenue, where to go in next. And obviously they're talking about robotics a lot, but they're also talking about, Jensen just gave this interview where he talked about data centers and network, all that kind of stuff, how fast it's going, storage of all this stuff. And and then you have quantum computing mixed in the conversation where investors are looking for these, where to go to next. What is the next phase of the market? And this is why I've been kind of obsessed with robotics. I've been obsessed with, Applied Digital, quantum computing here. It's very much a real transition in the market right now. So Applied Digital has been just doing very well. Now, obviously, I'll be the first to tell you, and I've told you, quarterlies have been lacking. They haven't been great. But it's this weird situation where they're not meeting quarterlies, but the shift in finances with money, revenue coming in last year and this year are dramatically different from the whole lifespan of the company. And they're building on, they're doing a lot of things, deals. I mean, there's a lot going on. And even, God bless him, Jim Cramer just talked about Applied Digital, and, he pretty much said what he said, and it was negative, and it's driving up the stock even more. Bless him. We love you, Jimmy. But that is, that's what we're seeing in the market. There's just things that don't make sense to a lot of investors. But I look at this right now because I'm looking at this place where we're at right now with this market, and I go it kind of does make sense because investors are, they're worried. They're worried. Investors are I don't want to miss out on more opportunities because you have the mass who's been over here saying oh, this is going to collapse. And then you have people over here like Jensen saying actually, no, we're seeing a whole new long-term, quantum leap into, tech, AI, where it's going and what companies are producing here. And two, Jeff Bezos I'm sounding like a broken record because I just kind of said some of this stuff on another video, but Jeff Bezos just gave this interview where bullet point the conversation out, to really say what he said was, there's a lot of companies right now that are being given money by, big investors, and some of them are going to do very well. Some of them are not, and there will be a collapse with AI stocks eventually, with AI companies. But what is going to be interesting in that moment is that there's going to be ones that rise up out of the dust, and those are the ones that are going to survive. Maybe they're starting with really bad things. Maybe they've got debt. Maybe the stock has crumbled, the share price. And he even gave the example talking about the bubble of the AI bubble, and he gave a great example of even the .com bubble. When that collapse happened in the market, 20 some years ago, Amazon stock dropped to $2-3, but I mean, at that moment, it survived, and look where it's at right now. And obviously that's a whole nother conversation, but these are key things that I think we're just going to have to, each generation goes through in the market. And that's why it's very important to, pay attention to maybe companies that aren't even like killing it quarterly wise, but that are revolutionary. They're doing something right. They are making money and they're trying to obviously get somewhere better. There's plenty of companies throughout the history of the stock market that they didn't hit every quarterly for a while. They weren't doing well, but they eventually got to this very sweet spot where they started to achieve success with, bread and butter of their company and find, revenue. And that's what's so interesting about what we're seeing with a lot of these tech stocks. This is from last year to this year, it's really different where things are at right now with tech and what we're talking about now. I definitely think the market is morphing into the next phase of what investors are looking for. Quantum computing stocks, data center stocks, even robotic stocks. I've talked a lot about robotics. So I think that is really what's kind of taking place right now. So talking about Applied Digital here, it is in a situation where, it's overpriced 100%. But I think it's in a place where it has really been, and it's in a crazy spot right now where investors are just continuing to push it up. And, I think these next 3 months are just going to be very weird in the market. It's been weird. We're coming off a rate cut. We're coming off, the government, not working right now. And now we're going into this week where we're going to hear a little bit from the feds. We could really hear something about what could happen with, potential rate cut. And two, the market's looking for another rate cut. And if it gets that news, well, it's going to run off that news more than likely. It's just nothing that we haven't, it's something that we haven't really gone through, but it's something we've been seeing, little footprints of here with the market, some, things we've already stepped over. So Applied Digital, I'm really curious to see if the company can kind of just get better with quarterlies. Obviously, they've had some deals take place here. There's been some big things that's been going on with it. And I think, too, that I've been so wrong on it with the stock share price. I've been in this place where, I thought $20 for this stock was like, whoa. And now, it's $6 above where, my highest position was for this. So it's really crazy that, the stock is still running like it is. But like I said, I think it's in a feeding frenzy. I think it is in a feeding frenzy. We just saw the deal, be locked up with CoreWeave. And, that's a long deal. It's a long deal. They got, that $7 billion deal here. That'll, be over 15-year term. But with that, that's money coming in here, and there's probably going to be more of those deals that we're going to see, because this is what Jensen's even been saying. Like, there's AI companies that are going to need to work with these data centers, the networking, everything, and Applied Digital knows that. And this is just kind of, it's really weird, If you live next to like a power plant or an oil facility where they store oil, they gas, all that kind of stuff, those are just kind of normal things I think a lot of us grew up with. Our parents, our grandparents, those are places that are normal. But I think too, there's going to be these other things that our children's children are going to start to see here. And they're going to be these massive data centers where you just look over the distance and all you see is these huge, big square buildings with generators coming off of them and stuff like that. And that's just going to be the normal cycle of, the revolution in the future here with data centers, stuff like that. And, that's why it's all mixed up together right now, robotics, data centers, quantum computing, chips, all that. I mean, it's all tangled and mangled with each other right now. And that's why Jensen has been talking about this, because he knows that they're all having, and they're going to have to work together. So I think there is definitely still plenty of future left for Applied Digital. I think it is a very underrated stock. I think it's a very underrated. I'm not even so much talking about the stock. I know. I'm really talking about the broad view of the company. It's obviously working. They're doing something right, and this could get really, very interesting over the next, decade of where this goes. What does this data center itself look like? How much will they expand? And that's really what they're up against right now. When you read into the fundamentals of the company, they're literally building as you're listening to me yap my gums here. So it's very interesting that this is going on. In QUBT, quantum computing, the mother of the stocks, quantum computing stocks we've been talking about. So this stock has just completely went crazy as well. I mean, just completely radically crazy. And it's interesting because, quantum computing is such a conversation that is such an argument. I mean, as soon as you talk about quantum computing, just the word quantum computing, I'm not even talking about the stock itself right now. I'm talking about just that word. It sets up just mass conversation for agreeing, disagreeing. But I have no business talking about science, computer science, technology. I can barely work what I do now, but what I can say is I have seen, being obsessed with the market and being obsessed with where investors are looking at, I have seen a huge shift from this time last year to right now, where these quantum computing stocks, not just this one we're talking about, QUBT here, have went from, this is not going to be anything you're going to need to invest in for like 5 years tops. It's quantum computing is so far away here. And maybe it is, like I said, I'm not the one to be saying this here, but what I can tell you is it's being talked about a lot more. You're seeing a lot of these big tech people talk about it more. And, I don't know that they know, since like some of them are very on the fence that this is going to work fast, and some of them are saying it's coming regardless. I look at AI, I mean, even down to the brass tacks of, like, if you get on TikTok and you see these AI videos that, just these AI videos in general. I mean, I just got on my phone this morning, I saw a video of, Martin Luther King and, ringing a doorbell and running away. I was like, what the? And for a minute, my mom was like, what? But I mean, that's how good AI videos have become here just from last year. So with technology moving and advancing so fast right now, I look at quantum computing, I go, if just the little sliver of it working and doing well, and if that gets out there in the mass, the market will be on it like, it'll be a feeding frenzy, and it already starting to look like that. So the company itself here at Quantum Computing, quarterlies are still not being hit. They're not being hit, but it is a process right now where a lot of what I said about Applied Digital, you're seeing more of this. Now, honestly, I'll be totally honest with you. I see Applied Digital working financially faster than QUBT here, just because of, I think data centers are already proven, like, they need them now, they needed them yesterday, and there's money being spent on them 100%. Quantum computing is still, it's, I would say what is going on right now, I think it's robotics, data center, and then quantum computing, the third tier here, where that is the level of how fast these things are working here. Now, obviously, Optimus with Tesla, that's here, that's going to be released to the public soon. These data centers, they're being built, they're being built more, and then you have quantum computing here, where it's just being talked about so much right now, and you've got these big tech people talking about it now, and people are paying attention to it now in the market, and it's getting so much attention. So I'm very curious to see where this is going to go. Obviously quantum computing here, QUBT, is highly manipulated stock, and I have no problem with that, because there's places to pull finances out of that and make them. But it is a very interesting place right now where this stock is at, and see how far it will run. I know a lot of people bought this at $5, $6, $10 even, and even if you're in the teens, you're in massive profit zone. So it's very interesting how this stock has really progressed here. Such a short time. A short time. Look at what the stock has done in such a short time. So, friends, listen, I want to wish all of you the best of luck. I really do mean that. We live in crazy times in this market. It's very interesting to watch it and see how it unfolds before us. Friends, take care of yourself. I will talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.